Hi equestrians, I hope you're doing well. Today's flow will be all about overcoming raga or attachment to achieve the flow that's best fit for you on any given day. Today's flow will be a little bit different than my past flows because I'm going to stop and offer a lot of modifications for almost every pose from Sun A all the way through Sun B. So let's get started. At the top of your mat, maybe in the center if you want to watch, come into mountain's pose. Traditionally, your feet are zipped together, allowing your calves, your knees, your thighs all to touch. Lift your fingertips towards the ceiling and engage your 360 core to find stability. Rotating your pinky fingers in, allowing your thumbs to move outward to create space between your shoulder blades. Arm modifications for mountain's pose includes bringing your hands to heart center or allowing them to open on either side of your body. Modifications for your legs include bringing your feet so that they're hip width distance apart. This can offer more stability and balance. Another option, if it feels good in your body, is to take a block and place it between your thighs. This gives you a good reference point of what hip width distance feels like, and it also reminds your inner thighs to engage. This can be really helpful if you're looking for a little bit more of a strength building mountain pose beyond what you can achieve in a regular mountain pose. So coming from mountain pose, oftentimes you'll flow down into a forward fold. There's a few ways to roll down. Some people will bring hands to heart center and flat back all the way down, or you can roll from your head, then through each vertebrae until you reach into your forward fold position. From here, the traditional forward fold has your feet together because you've come from mountain pose, with your legs as straight as you can make them. But for those of you that have tight hamstrings or a tight lower back, you can always bend your knees as much as you need to. Or maybe you even choose to bend your knees until you can reach your palms on the mat comfortably to provide more balance. You can also shift your legs so that they're hip width distance apart for more stability. If you notice that maybe you're really tight one day, you're really sore, and you can't quite touch the mat, you can always use a block to bring the ground up to you. This can be really helpful if you're really sore or you're looking for an extra lengthening through your hamstrings, but you're really tight in your hamstrings like I am. And it's just not possible for you to reach the ground and keep your legs straight, but you're looking for a little bit more support. Our next pose from forward fold is often a halfway lift. So you're lifting your torso halfway. You can press your palms into your shins or your thighs, whatever is accessible to you. And once again, feet can be hip width distance apart or together, whichever provides you more stability. Here we are looking for straight legs, but if you notice that you need a little bit more support to fully engage your core and keep your upper body straight, go ahead and reach for those blocks, and you can rest your fingertips on the block. The idea here isn't to put all your weight on the block, instead to use it just to help you find that halfway lift that feels good in your body and give you just a little extra support as you're beginning to train your 360 core to be fully stable and able to hold your upper body up. Oftentimes you'll exhale into forward fold and come back up to mountain pose, and that's the traditional Sun A, or at least what I was taught as Sun A, that you might see in a yoga class. The modifications that I offered can be used in any yoga class, and I will say that Yoga teachers love when students modify to meet their own needs. We can't always say it because we're teaching at the time, but we are applauding you in our heads and we're like, yes, they're listening to their body, and that's why I'm offering modifications today. The second flow I want to move through is Sun B, but I'm going to talk about the Chaturanga sequence first, because oftentimes this is the transition between series within a flow or the transition from Sun A to Sun B. Sometimes Chaturanga is included in Sun A. Sometimes it's only included in Sun B. It depends on the flow that I'm teaching. It depends on the teacher, the class, a lot of variables here because yoga is so versatile. So for your Chaturanga sequence, I'm going to show it in its very common form. And then I'm going to offer multiple modifications that you can take depending upon your energy level, maybe what you're trying to strengthen within your body, and even just how you're feeling that day, maybe an injury, whatever it may be. So for a Chaturanga, you might be coming from a halfway lift, and you're planting your palms, stepping back to high plank. It's important here to have your shoulders stacked over your wrists and your 360 core activated with energy flowing out the crown of your head as well as out your heels. Before you lower down, this is really, really important. Shift forward so that now your shoulders are in front of your wrists. This creates a situation where your joints are more safe as you lower down to mid-plank, only going as far as 90-degree angle in your elbows and keeping your elbows tucked to your rib cage. Oftentimes it's an inhaled upward facing dog, allowing your hips to drop towards the floor and your collarbone shining out in front of you. And then exhale to downward facing dog. And I'll talk about downward facing dog for just a second. Downward facing dog is taught usually with your legs completely straight. But once again, if you're someone like me that has really tight hamstrings or even a tight lower back, straightening your legs may not feel super good. So I almost always keep a micro bend or bend in my knees to help alleviate some of this tension. So that is the full Chaturanga. And as you can see, it can take a lot of breath and energy out of you. I had to take a couple breaths to regain my breath sequence and my cycle before I started talking again. So that goes to show that even for someone that practices regularly, doing 28 Chaturanga sequences in an hour-long vinyasa class is not always achievable. And it's just not always the reality of your body or maybe even your mind of the day that you're practicing. So while I love that Chaturanga because it gets your heart rate flowing and you move your body in both lengthening through the back line of your body and then lengthening through the front line of your body, there are other options that you can take if you want or need to modify. The first modification is instead of coming to a full high plank, you can lower your knees. It really remains the same from here. You're still going to shift forward and keep your elbows tucked in, and then you can push up. Maybe it feels good enough for your knees to straighten here, or maybe you keep them down on the floor. And then you can just move through kind of a tabletop position to push up to downward facing dog. The other option, and I always love to give this option because it is a great strength builder. It's really great for building shoulder strength as well as core strength. And that's just to hold a high plank. Maybe you don't do the Chaturanga and instead you hold here, focusing on a static hold and static activation of almost every muscle in your body. Then you can meet the class in downward facing dog. Again, with any plank variation that you feel, maybe you're choosing to hold plank and you're doing elbow taps. Maybe you can add push-ups to your chaturanga or add some sort of flow that makes it harder. I know people that their chaturanga ends up looking somewhat like a burpee when they're flowing through that sun A with the chaturanga added. So I have seen it. That's not a modification I usually choose to take, but it is one out there, and I want to say it as an option. The other option for a chaturanga, when maybe your back is really tight and it's just not feeling good to go into a full upward facing dog. So instead, from your high plank, still shifting forward, you can lower down all the way to your mat and maybe come up into a baby cobra. Cobra has two options here. You can keep your fingertips on the ground, or you can lift them off. Lifting them off forces your back to use more strength, but keeping them grounded can be especially helpful if you're looking to achieve a certain amount of stretch or expansion in your chest. The final thing I will say about, let me go back. Coming from cobra, you would just push back up into a plank and then into a downward facing dog. The one thing I want to say about chaturangas and throughout yoga in general, if you are someone who is double jointed or hypermobile or has like extra extension in their arms and legs, always think about keeping a micro bend in your joints. So in your elbows, in your knees. And this is because instead of putting weight into your joints and locking them out, the micro bend actually forces your muscles to hold up your body. So it's a lot safer. You may not notice the wear and tear on your joints when you first start practicing, but for longevity of your practice, you're gonna want to include the micro bend and continuously think about making sure your body isn't overextending into any joint, because you're not going to see the same type of benefits of yoga when your joints are getting compromised over a long amount of time. So from our chaturanga, oftentimes you have a three-legged dog. You can lift your leg as high or as low as you want. Maybe you don't have the hip extension to go all the way up. Then you can move forward into a low lunge. So the idea here, low lunge offers a lot of options. We already have our hands down, but if you're looking for more stability, or maybe you're really, really sore in your quad and it's not firing today, you went for a really long run, I don't know, it's not working. You don't always lower your back knee. This is the same, you're getting the same stretch through this, whatever leg is to the back, whatever this hip flexor is, whether it's the right or the left, you're still getting that stretch. From here, whether you're going into a crescent lunge, you might do this throughout many flows within your vinyasa, but in a sun B, oftentimes you're flowing into warrior two. So all I'm gonna do from here is rotate this is my left leg, so my back leg, so that my shin is now parallel with the short edge of my mat. And I can just come up into a warrior two stance so that my hips are now open to the long edge of my mat to the side. And I'm stacking my front knee over my front ankle to protect both my joints and extending my arms out long and gazing forward. This looks really, really similar to what you would find in warrior two. The full warrior two expression looks like this. There's not a lot different, but this works your muscles a lot. And a lot of times I get really sore when it's like the 5th class I've taken in a week, and it's just, I need to come down. This also is a great option if maybe there's an ankle injury or the knee feels unstable in the position that's in and the weight that it's bearing in a traditional warrior two. Always for arms, hands to heart center. If there's an arm extension in either way, up or to the side, and this doesn't feel good in your shoulders, maybe your muscles are getting fatigued, hands to heart center is great. If you can, and it feels good and it's not due to an injury, and you're just maybe a little tired, a little sore, you can still engage through your upper back by pressing your palms into one another. You can still get an active engagement of your arms with your hands at heart center rather than out here. This is always an option. So from here, you might go into an extended side angle. Again, this looks really, really similar. Maybe you're really just wanting to lean and kind of you lose this triangle that's supposed to be right here, right? And maybe you're working on strength and strengthening your spine as well as lengthening your spine. And maybe you come to rest your elbow onto your knee to regain that length. So now my knee and the crown of my head is actually all in one line. And I'm able to engage my lower, so this is my right obliques, with my arm extended up. This could be a great option. If your left arm or your arm that is up towards the ceiling, there's something going on with your shoulder, it's not feeling good, you can always take a half bind and move your hand so it's resting on your forward hip, or the hip that's to the front of your mat. These are your options for extended side angle. For reverse warrior, it's very similar. If your leg is already down, it might be a little awkward to get into reverse warrior. Sometimes when I'm flowing and I want to get a little bit more of a reverse warrior, I actually straighten my front leg so that I can get that stretch through the opposite side of my body, of my torso, that I did for the extended side angle. So this is always an option if you're on your knee, because for me, keeping my leg here, I can't reach the ground with my back arm without compromising the length in that oblique, in the side. And I still want length in both sides of my body. If you don't want to straighten this leg or something doesn't feel good when you're moving and shifting your hips, you can always use a block and keep your leg bent, and this can be your reverse warrior. Another option, if your arm is up, half bind. You can half bind, or you can do like one hand to heart center, do both hands to heart center, and just focus on finding length in your obliques. That's a workout. I haven't done that before and I just thought of it, but that's a workout right there. But here's your extended side angle without arm extension. Here's your reverse warrior without arm extension. And these legs stay the same through all the warriors that have the warrior 2 base. So from here, again, you come into your low lunge. Maybe it's modified. If you're in a modified low lunge and going into a chaturanga, you can press your fingertips, your palms into the mat so that your upper back moves towards the ceiling and allowing your knee to come back. From here, maybe you're in a tabletop, maybe you just step back to high plank, and you can move through whatever chaturanga sequence feels good to you. Perfect. So that is Sun A and Sun B with the chaturanga, kind of explained with modifications. These are not the only modifications out there. There are hundreds and hundreds of modifications. And it's really helpful for yoga teachers if before class starts, if you're feeling something, maybe go ask them a question if they're in a place to be receiving like questions or talking to people. Sometimes yoga teachers are getting in their head to teach, but a lot of times we're looking for those moments of connection with our students, because us knowing what modifications you might need allows us to offer them seamlessly while we're teaching. Without necessarily singling you out, needing to stop class, we can just say, hey, if your arms are starting to get tired, bring them to hands to heart center. We don't need to call you out. No one in the room needs to know that we're talking to you. It will just look like you're taking that modification option. Before we close this short little flow, I do want to recover or rediscuss 2 really main modifications that you can make with, I want to say, any pose. There are some modifications that may falter alignment and safety. And that's when teachers will get really, really strict on like, your body has to be this way. I can think of like 2 poses, and I don't even think I would ever show them on this channel because they tend to be really advanced, and it's not in my practice to do them, and I'm not going to teach a practice that I wouldn't have. So there is the caveat, the safety statement, but teachers will tell you what's safe in the anatomy of your body when you're doing poses. Overall, 2 modifications you can always make. If your arms are extended in any way and that does not feel good, whether it's an injury, fatigue, whatever, you can always bring your hands to heart center. If you are looking for more stability, you can either come onto your knees, depending upon the pose, or you can take your feet from being together and having them hip-width distance apart. This just means that your weight is further out. There's more stability and balance that could be achieved than with your feet together on like a tiny little pedestal is essentially what you're doing when your feet are together. So those are my 2 kind of 3 modifications that you can make to almost any pose. And the idea of offering these modifications is because I want you to be able to find the practice that is meant for you. I want you to be able to overcome Raga attachment of the perfect yoga pose, or what warrior 2, mountain pose, whatever it may be, is supposed to look like. Because what it's supposed to look like is what it's supposed to look like for their body. What it's supposed to look like for you may be different. And it may be different from one day to the next, or from one flow to the next. Your first flow of class, you might be feeling real pumped, real high energy, and you're going through the chaturanga full thing. You're going all the way down, then you're coming up to upward facing dog, pushing back to downward facing dog, and then by the end of class, your shoulders might be really, really sore. And you're like, I just need to hold high plank and reconnect to my breath. That's a great option. Even skipping the chaturanga to come back to a seat to maybe grab a sip of water in a class is a great modification to keep your body going. Practicing overcoming Raga attachment is a life skill. It means that we can be more fluid in how we live our day-to-day lives, whether on the mat or off, because it shows that we're truly connected to ourselves. If I leave you with one thing from this very interesting Friday yoga flow, it's that yoga teaches you how to truly be you, because it's a connection, it's a union between your mind and your body. I hope that this weekend offers you many chances to connect to yourself and to find peace and joy and love from within. Thank you. Please subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment if there's another pose that you're looking for a modification about. And maybe hop on the Calibo Yoga website and become a subscriber to the newsletter. Get updates about new yoga flows, podcast episodes, and upcoming programs. I'll see you next week.